If you're thinking of moving to Aledo, Texas, this hidden gem may just be the peaceful retreat you've been looking for. But what does daily life in Aledo actually look like? Well, in this video, we're going to be taking you on a map tour to get you a better lay of the land and taking you through everything from the lifestyle, the ins and outs of daily life, as well as famous neighborhoods and great things to do in the area. So stick around because this is your boots on the ground tour without the airfare. Aledo is a small town that is just steeped in history. Everything from cowboys and railroads to bustling economies and thriving communities that all just kind of came together and has existed for decades at this point in its rural state. With how many resources and things to do there are in Aledo, how abundant it is in life and culture, I'm thoroughly surprised this area has not just exploded with development, but it's well on its way. Don't get me wrong. This place really is a hidden gem that a lot of people don't really know exists. With great school districts and great people, there's no real reason not to love Aledo. And if you're thinking of moving here, I'll tell you right now, you've already made the right choice. But you don't know anything about Aledo. Let's be frank. A lot of people don't. Even people in the DFW area don't really know a lot about it, except for maybe its football program, which is phenomenal, by the way. So we're going to take a bit of a deep dive here and show you around. If you're coming in from out of state, let's start top down. Texas. Everyone knows Texas. Europeans know Texas. Chinese know Texas. So we'll start there. It's a pretty recognizable state now that we're taking a look at it. I kind of want to zoom in here because you can already kind of see the Dallas-Fort Worth area here in the top right. If we zoom in a little bit, my touch screen's acting a little funky today, so we're just going to use the trackpad. No worries. And as we zoom in here, you're going to see two very recognizable names, or at least one recognizable name. You probably at least know Dallas. You probably have heard that at one point in time in your life. So we got Dallas over here on the east side of DFW, and we got Fort Worth over here on the west side of DFW. And the reason that I want to jump into the location real quick is, one, to give you guys a little bit of bearing of where Aledo is, but also because they say DFW is where the West begins. So if you're looking to move to the first stop in the Wild West of the American frontiers, Aledo is where you're going to be, because you see right here off to the left of Fort Worth, we have Aledo, and it's kind of a small nothing marker on the map, which, don't get me wrong, I think that's a good thing. A lot of people are looking for that retreat with how much hustle and bustle is in everyone's daily lives nowadays. It feels like you can't catch a break unless you're like stuck in the middle of the ocean on a cruise or something like that. And if you want to save a little bit of time and just integrate that peace and quiet into your daily life, you move somewhere like this. Now, it's not a huge city, I'm going to tell you right now, and that may not be for everyone. I myself, I like to be in the thick of the action. I live in the middle of Fort Worth where everything's at. Some people love that. Some people, they hate the traffic, they hate the smog, they hate the noise, and they go out to these little suburbs and sister cities like this. And honestly, I think that's what makes this area great, because everyone's very kind and respectful of each other, and there's space and they're quiet, and that peace, it just extends from the north all the way to the south border of Aledo. It's amazing when you go out there. But to not ramble on too hard about this, Aledo actually, it formed a long time ago. So there's a railroad track that goes through Aledo, and you can kind of see it right here. Just to, if you want to follow along on the map, we're just using Google Maps, nothing crazy here. You can see this little dashed line that goes through Aledo. A bit of a history lesson for you. Aledo used to be a train stop along part of the what is now BNSF Railroad, the Burleson Northern Santa Fe Railroad. Used to be called the Santa Fe Railroad, and this was one of the stops. It was just like a little mail courier stop, nothing crazy. They weren't like exchanging cattle or anything like that, but it did make it a hub for a lot of people, an economic hub. They would move there for the transportation, for the economy, et cetera, and it slowly grew and grew. But all in all, and even to its core to this day, Aledo is more farmland and rural. A lot of people go there for the space and how much land they can get for the value that it is. And surprisingly enough, it's still very affordable for what you're getting. I know the real estate market is a little crazy right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But Aledo really is, like I said, a hidden gem. And while we go through this, because the things we're going to be covering today, we are going to be covering a lot of really nice neighborhoods, taking a look at some really nice houses as well. So if you want more of a deep dive on some of these, because it's going to be really wave top, we're going to try and spare y'all the deep dive. We're going to have videos where you can go through and really dig into the meat and potatoes of each of these little areas that you can go check out after you're done with this one if you want to learn more about those areas. But Aledo as a whole, let's take a step back here, because while this may be the city limits, Aledo actually extends a lot further out. So Aledo ISD is a phenomenal school district. You can already see the middle school here as one of the monikers on the map. But Aledo unofficially extends all the way out past the 20 over here, which is the major highway that goes east to west between Fort Worth and Weatherford, and goes all the way down to the 377, which goes between Benbrook and Granbury. So you've got two major thoroughfares through the Metroplex that actually connect to the north and south portions of Aledo, and you take Old Weatherford Road north and south to get between them, and most of your stuff is going to be along that road. So it makes it really convenient to get around Weatherford as well. Most of your stuff is going to be there in the city center. Your things like your shopping, your classes, your community centers, the schools and everything are in that little red-lined area as well. So it's very centralized, and most of the rural stuff actually expands out from there. But when I say rural, actually, it's easier to show than tell. So if we go into a satellite view, just for reference, if we take a look at like Fort Worth isn't even Dallas. Look at this. So you can kind of see like all the patches of concrete, all the little subdivisions and everything that have been built up throughout the years as the city's developed, and it looks very different. You can even see, especially here in Arlington by the airport, speaking of which, it's not a very far drive to the airport. We'll get to that in a bit as well, but you can see the amount of development that's gone on in the Metroplex area. Now, just keep that in mind for a second, because let's go back over here to Aledo, and we take a look at Aledo, and there's not much. And I would say that's a good thing, because if you know Texas, we don't have a lot of topology here, so we rely very heavily on our greenery, our low-lying trees, our grasses, and things to really make the landscape the visual masterpiece that it is. And Aledo captures that while still having, you can still see there's some subdivisions here. There's a little bit of development going on over here by the school, a couple of shops and things there along the highway. But as you get into Aledo, it's still very much farmland. It's old like large lots. You'll see some low-lying ranch style houses throughout Aledo. A lot of it is still that the bulk of what makes up Aledo unofficially outside of city limits is going to be those low-lying large lot houses. Now, since space is scarce, they're not making any more land, and Fort Worth is kind of outgrowing itself, we've seen a lot of development go north, and then they ran out of room, and a lot of it went south, and they're running out of room as well. And, well, the west is the next viable option, so we don't know how long this is going to stay this way. I don't foresee it changing in the next few years, but as it stands currently, Aledo is still a nice, open, green, untouched and untapped well of potential is the way I see it. But enough waxing poetic. Let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of what makes Aledo so great. So the very first and foremost thing, whenever you're looking at an area, I say you're going to want to know about the climate, because you can change a lot of things about where you live, but you really can't change much about the climate. And if you're not familiar with Texas and the DFW as a whole, it's a little warm here. So during your spring and fall, it's slightly warmer than temperate. Not bad, but, I wouldn't wear long sleeves or anything like that. During summers, it can get pretty hot, and out in Aledo, it's no different. I will say one of the upsides of being this far from the city is concrete holds a lot of heat. It's actually a very good retainer of that heat, and so it can make things feel hotter than they really are. So whenever you get further and further away from the city, while it may be hot standing in the sun, whenever you're out here in the grassy areas, it's not as bad as it would be. You get under the shade, it all kind of goes away pretty quickly. In Aledo being even further away from the Gulf winds that come up than, say, like Dallas or East DFW, doesn't catch as much as that humidity either. So you get less humid, less muggy air, and more temperate heat, even though I will tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, it does get pretty warm. So prepare yourself for that. On top of that, the location. That's the other thing you can't really change about the property that you buy. If you decide you want to move to Aledo. Aledo's not going anywhere. It's right where it's at. So you want to make sure you're close to a lot of resources. You don't want to have to travel half an hour to go get things done. So let's take a look at what daily life in Aledo will actually look like. And before we can actually do that, we have to dig into a couple of things. There are three main hotspots when it comes to new home neighborhoods in Aledo. And I know everyone wants new homes, so we're just going to go ahead and take a look at that. For those of you who may be wondering, yes, we do work in pre-owned homes or pre-existing homes. So if that's something you're interested in, it does give you a lot more flexibility, but it's very case-by-case basis. So if you're curious about that, give us a call. We can help you out. So let's just jump into the new home stuff for now. Keep it simple. The first one I want to point out is you can see up here, there's this little moniker for Walsh. There are two main neighborhoods in this area and a couple of smaller neighborhoods around here, but we can use this as a good point of reference. This is probably the most northeast you can go and still stay in Aledo. There's parts of it that are in Fort Worth, but it's Aledo ISD, and I think that's the biggest draw for Aledo, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later as well. Walsh is a phenomenal community. First of all, you've got all kinds of price ranges. You can technically get into this neighborhood in the 400,000s. They're going to be like little garden homes and things like that. They're adorable, don't get me wrong, but they are a little bit on the small side, so you kind of have to take the good with the bad. But it's a phenomenal community. Tons of amenities, beautiful houses, and honestly, we've got people here in the office that live in Walsh. I'm not just hyping it up because they live there. It is actually one of my favorite communities for a lot of reasons. Great on-site elementary school and a middle school right out of the back gate. Tons of reasons to want to be there, and tucked right behind it is actually this is called Morningstar. It's I call it Diet Walsh. It's a lot like Walsh, but it's like toned down a bit, and you save a little bit of money on the house that you buy because of that. So it doesn't have as many amenities. It doesn't have as many HOA support. Like they don't do front yard maintenance or anything like that. Some of the houses are a bit more plain. You can still get a lot of bang for your buck. You're just not getting all the extra bells and whistles. So if you just care about the structure of the house, you're still getting a phenomenal deal. It is also a smaller community, so you don't have to drive quite as far to get from one end of it to the other. So you take the good with the bad. But those are both phenomenal communities, relatively the same price point. Like I said, you can get in there in the upper fours, and then the price goes all the way up to about 1.2 on the high end, but most of your houses are going to float between the $600,000 and $700,000 range. So if we're here, this is probably the most accessible part of Aledo because, like you can see right here, here's the 20. It branches off technically into the 20 down here and the 30 up here. Those go straight into Fort Worth. And the reason I bring this one up first is because a lot of people who move to Aledo are actually with either the Joint Reserve Air Force Base, the Navy base that's right here in West Worth Village, or they're with Lockheed Martin, one of the biggest employers in the DFW area, which is right next door because they share a flight line or a runway for their planes. So it's been kind of named the Lockheed Martin Village because a lot of people that work there end up moving to Walsh. So you're going to see a lot of those types of individuals. So if you really like the straight edge, forward-thinking individuals, the military types, you're going to fit right in at Walsh. And even if you don't, they're lovely people. I promise you'll get along just fine. They also keep a very neat ship, so it's nice to have cleanly neighbors. I can always appreciate that. But it's a really good spot to be because not only does it give you quick access to West Worth Village and all of that stuff over there for the base. But you also you can see here, it connects to the 820 loop, which means you can get around Fort Worth very easily. It's maybe a 30-minute drive to the airport from here because you're right on the highway. Assuming there's no traffic, you can get there very quickly. So it's a very desirable spot to be. And that's why I like to start there because not only that, you're also right across the highway from the school, which means you're about 10 minutes from the high school. I mean, I told you, you've got an elementary and a middle school right there, so your trips to and from your daily life aren't going to be bad. But if you need to take your kid to the high school, they do have to cross an interstate highway. That can be a little daunting for a lot of parents. So while it may be a very desirable area, for all these other things, if you don't want your kid to have to go across the I-20 to get to and from high school, we're going to go take a look at probably a slightly better option with not as many frills to it, and that is Parks of Aledo. Now, Parks of Aledo is this master plan community. Let's actually zoom in here real quick because we've got Aledo High School right here. If we take a look at that, it's, like I said, maybe 10 minutes if you take the route here to get from Walsh. But there's an even closer one. Now, hold on for a second because we got Parks of Aledo. Let me see if I can find it here just by looking at it. It's tucked away back here. So you can see the parks of Aledo. This is the lakes. But it's this big master plan community built up of all these little subdivisions here. It started off, I want to say, with the Enclave. They have like 7 different sections. Each one's named something different. There's the Bluffs, the Enclave, there's the Lakes, and a few others. Each of them have their own style, but they all mesh together very well. And they're all technically part of the same neighborhood. It's got its own fire department right in the middle of it. There's an elementary school right at the entrance. There's also a middle school just around the corner here. There it is, Aledo Middle School. So you just go right through downtown, which I say downtown very loosely. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. And you're there at the middle school. But the biggest thing about this is you can see how close this is. So you've got parts of Aledo, the lakes, parts of Aledo, their trails. There's a whole trail system that goes through it, which is adorable, by the way. But it also means that it's very easy for your kids to get to and from the high school. So if you've got high school age kids and you're looking for a good, very reasonably priced family-sized house, this is a phenomenal community for you guys because you can literally see the high school from your backyard. Your kids could walk there and back in like not even half an hour for both ways. It's great because it's also very safe while being close to all of this stuff because you're kind of on the edge of all that green space here. Because if we look at it, this is the newest part of the development right here. And then there's nothing. It's nothing but farmlands. It's super quiet, super peaceful. And honestly, I almost had a client buy a house there because of one of the builders. Now, there's a ton of builders in these communities and it can be a little overwhelming. Walsh has like 8 or 9 different builders. This one has like 5 or 6. And people don't know a lot about builders. They think they're all the same until they see the product and it all kind of sticker shocks them. They're like, wow, this one's that price because of this and that one's that price because of that. I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Reach out to us. We can make it easy for you guys. We've been through like hundreds of builders' houses at this point, and we kind of have an eye for the details that make the money that you're spending seem worth it. If you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, we'll tell you where to go, which ones to take a look at, which ones you may need to consider depending on your life choices. But honestly, the ones here, they make phenomenal houses, and this one builder that we actually have a video on, you should go check it out because the pantry in this house almost sold it for this one lady. But it's a great community. And if you're looking for the day-to-day stuff with all the shops and things they have in downtown Aledo, you're not going to be hurting at all. Like I said, we harped on schools and everything, but another really big aspect to daily life is shopping because, while you may not be the type to go to a mall and just, spend buku bucks binge shopping, everyone's got to get groceries. We got to eat. Not everyone's a farmer, has their own cow that they can milk for cereal in the morning. So you need to go to the store and it needs to be fairly convenient. Luckily, Aledo does have some convenience stores here in the town area. So you can see it's not a very hugely developed area. When I say downtown, we're talking like there's a little coffee shop, a cafe, a church. There's like some mom and pop storefronts here in like Old Town Aledo. Nothing crazy. I think there's a community center. Yeah, there's like a community center over here where my buddy got married. Honestly, nothing crazy, but there's enough to keep you taken care of. If you need bread, eggs, milk, they got you. But when it comes to other types of shopping, you're probably going to have to go into one of the bigger cities if you want something a little bit more in depth. Weatherford has plenty of shopping and you're about a 20-minute drive at most. Actually, honestly, hold on. Let me just take a look here. I don't want to lie to you guys. So if we start in Aledo and say Weatherford. Yeah, right now there's a little bit of traffic because this is kind of it's probably the bad time to be looking, but without traffic, you're looking at about 20 minutes into Weatherford and there's a bunch of little shops. It's adorable. They got their own little Old Town area, and they've also got some newer stuff as well if you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of going downtown Weatherford. But if we go Clear Fork is actually more like upscale shopping. They've got like some really cool things to do, and this is in Fort Worth, so a lot of people actually go quite a bit out of their way to get to this area. Yeah, and you're looking at like 20 minutes. So if you want more bougie shopping, this is honestly a really good spot to land, and you're looking at not even a half hour's drive. So it's a pretty good spot to be if you're trying to get into there from, like, say, Parks of Aledo, which is basically in the middle of Aledo proper. Now, the other big area that I really want to point out before we continue on is the Bella Crossing area. Now, there's like 2 or 3 neighborhoods out here, but really we can all just call it South Aledo. quite a big swath of land between where Aledo proper is here and the 377 down by where I say the bottom part of Aledo ends. You've got Bella Crossing right in this area here next to that Joyful Balloon Boutique. I don't even know what that is. That's a residential neighborhood. There's no actual businesses there. And then you've got Aledo Heights, which is in this area over here off of Kelly Road. Speaking of Kelly Road, there's one other neighborhood I got to show you guys down here called Kelly Ranch. But basically, these three guys are more upper price points. So you're looking at things, I think probably the lowest you could get into these neighborhoods is like the 700,000. And then they go up into like the 2-3 million plus, depending on how big of a house you want. But the real draw to these neighborhoods, aside from, big houses, is big lots. These are all going to be acre plus lots, some of them 2 acres with the new Parker County requirements. So you're getting a lot of land with that house as well. So if you came to Texas for land, like a lot of people did, this is definitely where you want to go. That and its easy access to the 377 means not only can you easily get into Benbrook, where there's a lot of shops, restaurants, convenience items, grocery things. Because if we take a look here, 377, Benbrook, right there. You take that road right up, and then suddenly you're in the heart of it all. Or if you want to go to the lake, I know you see Benbrook Lake here. Benbrook Lake's fine, but there's a much better lake if you go down 377. Now, it's a bit of a drive. You're looking at about 40 minutes from where you are on the 377 to get to Granbury, but Granbury is a phenomenal destination. A lot of people end up having parents move in there because it's one of the, I believe it's the number 2 retirement area in the United States. And for good reason. It's beautiful. You got the lake there. There's a ton of things to do. It's very accessible for people as well because it's right off of that main road, and it's got all of your convenience items. The only thing I think Granbury lacks is a hospital. And if that sounds interesting to you, or a family member might be interested in something like that, we've got several videos on Granbury as well. Highly advise you guys check it out because it really is a phenomenal community as well. Continuing on with Aledo, though, you can see that's a really nice access point to be able to get into Fort Worth, Benbrook, or Granbury, and it's right outside of your front gates because you see Bella Crossing is right there. It connects to the road, and you're on your way. Or one of these two here off of Kelly Road, you just take that down, connect to the 377, go about wherever you need to. Honestly, not bad at all. Now, that being said, if you are living in the south part of Aledo, a lot of those convenience items, you're going to have to drive a little bit further. That eggs, milk, and bread that I was talking about earlier in the video, you're either going to have to go into Benbrook, which is probably your closest drive, so you're looking at about 15 minutes that way, or you've got about 15 minutes to get into Aledo, the Aledo proper, where those other convenience items are. So that is a bit of a downside to living a bit further out. But when you get that much land, a lot of times you are the type of a lot of people who choose to live in more rural areas have that mindset of prepping themselves for living in that area. You're not just going to live out in the middle of the sticks and not realize, I can't just drive to Walmart every day because that Walmart's X amount of minutes out of the way. It's kind of the give and take you have to have with that lifestyle. But I feel like those type of people, if that's your gig, you're probably aware of that. So while I've been blabbing on about all the different drive times and everything, you guys actually want to see what Aledo looks like. So I want to take you guys, you can kind of see the preview here, but I want to take you guys down to a street level and give you guys a view of what it actually looks like in like the town center. So we'll show a couple of different areas because this is Old Town Aledo, and you can see don't run away just yet. I know it's quaint, but this is like Old Town Aledo. So this is you can actually see the railroad here. It's historical. They kept all the train stops and everything. You got these cute little storefronts with their Western facades and everything. They've actually got some cool stuff here. It's a very small town community. So if you're looking for that small town feel where everyone kind of knows each other, or you at least recognize each other, you're going to build up quite the social sphere in an area like this. Being able to chat with your neighbor and actually get to know each other is kind of a lost art, especially with the major metropolitan areas being the way they are. You got your churches, all these little community centers, and some cute little older houses in the background. But it's a really peaceful place to be. You can already see, even from the street view, there's not a ton of traffic. There's not really any road noise that comes through Aledo. Which I think is a big plus. And you can see if we go over here by like where the middle school's at, they've got good facilities. Everything's well maintained. It looks like this was probably in the winter time frame. Trees don't have any leaves on them. But they've also got some newer shops that have started popping up here and there. So it is slowly growing, but it hasn't exactly exploded like a lot of other areas yet. And we'll talk about that as well. because I think it's really just a veritable powder keg, waiting for the right time to spark and just take off. But if we jump into one of these neighborhoods that I was mentioning, let's go into Parks of Aledo, because honestly, I think this is one of the more accessible neighborhoods. It's a very, very palatable neighborhood. It's simple, but it's eloquent at the same time. We could see a lot of these were late 2010s houses, probably before the big boom in like the 2020 time frame when a lot of these were made. So they do have a little bit of age to them, 5-10 years at this point, depending on what you're looking at. But they're still really nice houses. These are big houses too. That's another thing I want to point out. In Aledo, your starting price point is probably going to be in the $400,000 to $500,000 range for your houses. And that's because most houses in Aledo, at least the new ones, aren't starter homes per se. They're like starter family homes. Most of the people moving to Aledo go there for the safety, because while it is very remote, you can already tell just like from the quality of the neighborhood and how well maintained it is. Crime is low. Like, you even on Google Street View, you got kids running around in the park right here. And that's one of the biggest draws to Aledo is schools and safety. Now, if you don't know about Aledo ISD, even in the DFW area, it is just lauded over for its academia and especially its sports program. Because if you know anything about Texas high school football, it's a cult. It's basically its own religion at this point. People are diehard fans. Like, I'm talking World Cup level diehard, maybe minus the riots in the streets afterwards. But they're really into it, and I honestly couldn't explain why. I love the energy. I just don't know where it all came from, and they just decided, hey, high school football, that's our thing. And Aledo took it one step further because they are good at it. Them and Argyle are probably the top two. So if you've got a Funior, world star athlete that's going to be in the NFL, whatever, this is definitely the school district you want to put them in, because they are doing it right. And on top of that, even if you're not a big football nut like some of these guys are, the academic portion of Aledo ISD is phenomenal. It's one of the top rated school districts in the DFW area and Texas as a whole, for good reason. Like, they're pumping a ton of money into the right programs, into the right infrastructure, and gathering teachers. They treat their teachers very well. And I think that's actually a huge portion of why they do so well as a school district, is because they keep the teachers happy, which means that they love doing their job and they do a better job at it. All in all, just A's all around. I believe it's actually an A or A plus rated school district. We get all of our school stats off of niche.com, by the way. So if you ever want to do a deeper dive into that stuff, because I'm not an academic profession of any variety, feel free to look into that. That's where you're going to find probably your best data for somebody outside looking in. But yeah, all in all, this is a beautiful community, and it's got different styles as well, because if we go here, like say to the lakes area, they're still very much developing over here. I don't even know if we could get a street view. Oh, we can. Cool. So if we go here, these are going to be newer houses. You can kind of see the style change. It's still that traditional layout and everything, but it's got a slightly different facade to it. These are some of the model homes by the different builders. They each have their own different feel and amenities and things that stick out about them depending on the builder itself. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful community, very, very accessible as far as price range goes, and phenomenal location. But if we take a look at something a little bit older, get you guys a better feel for like what old school Aledo looks like. OG Aledo. Can we get into one of these? Let's see what this community is like. I don't know anything about this. This looks like mobile homes. Yeah, so, I mean, there's going to be stuff like this depending on where you... Ooh, that's not a very pretty area. Yeah, that's one of the things. As you go further out, you're going to run into stuff like this. It's not necessarily a bad area. I just know not everyone wants to live in a double wide. So if we say, see if we can get a good example of some of those low-lying houses. More mobile homes. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong neighborhood here. Oh no, that's Parks of Aledo. Well, these guys got here when land was cheap. I'll tell you that. They were smart, because it's not going to stay that way. Yeah, you can see some early 2000s houses. There are some of these neighborhoods like this, these more densely packed suburban neighborhoods, but you'll see, like, just from the composition of some of these, and you saw even in the ones with trailer parks in them, they're these larger lots. You've got these low-lying houses and everything. That's a cute little house. That's a big piece of land. Good for that guy. Yeah, here we go. So there's going to be a lot of this in Aledo. If you go up and down a lot of the main roads, most of them are going to be like this, a fairly moderately sized house, maybe larger than most, because like I said, most of the people moving out to Aledo are there for the families. Phenomenal safety, just because what kind of criminal is going to go out into the middle of nowhere? But yeah, you'll get stuff like this all over the place, where these big lots with these low-lying ranch-style houses on them look phenomenal. They're beautiful, and that's what I feel like a lot of people are coming to Texas for. And if that's the case, Aledo is definitely a great place to start. Now, I know I've been talking about how pretty the houses are, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that in a little bit, because I do want to show you guys the inside of a couple of the newer ones that are popping up, but I want to talk a little bit more about the lifestyle in Aledo, because living this far out from the city, I say far out, living outside of the city like this takes a different type of person, which therefore creates a different kind of environment. And Aledo is very laid back. I wouldn't say it's an unintentional area. That doesn't mean, when I say laid back, that doesn't mean like lazy or they don't get things done, because that's very much not the case. The type of people that move to Aledo are intentional about being relaxed. It's calm is a great way to put it. So the type of people that move to Aledo, the type of lifestyle you can expect when you move to Aledo is peaceful. You are going to have people that are very intentional about their time, people that go there with, they want to get things done. They are very industrious people, but they know that when it's time to hang up their work boots and go home and be with their family, their time with their family is very intentional as well. They're not mixing work and life. They're at work when they're at work, and they're with their family when they're with their family. And I think that's a really good way to put it, because there's a lot of people that, you know, it can be really muddy whenever you're overwhelmed with life, especially in the city sector. It can be a lot. And so coming to a place like this can almost feel therapeutic. Every time that I go through Aledo, it's a very different vibe. For being only about 20 minutes from Fort Worth, you go somewhere like this and it all just kind of stops. Like, it's a very well-oiled machine. Don't get me wrong; they still keep the clock ticking, but yeah, it's like there's like this background tranquility that just kind of follows everything around in a good way. So if that's definitely something you need in this day and age where it can feel overwhelming, I cannot suggest an area like this quite enough. But let's jump in here, because I do actually have the MLS open, and a lot of people who may not know what that is. The MLS is a multiple listing system. As real estate agents, we have kind of a back end where we can see a lot of these listings with excess information that may not be posted publicly, and that also gives us access to a lot of statistics and data that most people just can't easily access. One of the cool things I can do, I'm going to go ahead here and punch in, let's say, active listings that were built after 2020, because I want to look at some of the newer houses over here and give you guys an idea of like what's on the ground, what the market looks like in Aledo, what the price ranges are. Because if you're looking to move to an area, you're probably going to want to know what the houses look like. The architecture varies wildly from place to place, even within a metroplex, but especially from state to state. So actually, let's start with the north and head south, because we talked up Walsh and Morningstar, and as you can see from this, each of these little green dots is an active listing. There are a lot of houses for sale in Walsh, and for good reason. It's a very desirable area. So this is a pretty moderately priced house for Walsh, nothing crazy. Drees Custom Homes, they make a pretty good product. Here, let's go for something a little bit more moderate here. So this one is technically a pre-existing listing. So we may have to deal with some interior decor here, but I like this one. So this is actually one of the earlier houses that made it into Walsh. Now, on the main road through Walsh, you've got, I believe it's just called Walsh Avenue. You've got a very different style of architecture that dots either side of the street there. And this is one of those houses. So this is actually a very select property. They're basically not making any more of this style of house. I think it's adorable because it's got like that craftsman style, almost a couple of New English accents to it, while still having the traditional stuff like the water line, some shiplap. Very well done house. But yeah, so this one's empty. It works out. You're basically looking at like what you would if you bought a new home. Some of the stuff is a little bit dated because they're not doing like the gray walls, and some of the light flooring they've changed up in the past few years, but it's very well done. So you've got open concept style is going to be pretty typical around here. You're going to get these modern tumbler style cabinets, granite countertops, or quartz, depending on what level you get. Let's take a look at another one real quick, see if I can get one of the newer ones. That's Drees again. They're great. I just want to show off some stuff that isn't almost $1 million. Okay, Highland. They make a great house. So again, you're getting very traditional style house on the outside facade. This one, they went with a little bit of a gray color here. Oh yeah, I've been in this house. This one's really cool because it got like this pub style shiplap on the bar here. But this is like a almost like a sandstone quartz. Looks really nice. This one's an open concept. They went with like the brushed nickel finish on everything. And so a lot of these houses are going to be more high ceiling, traditional, but like polished traditional. This one's a very simple house. I like it just because of the floor plan layout, but it's going to be stuff like this. So if that's not what you're looking for, you want a little bit more, or a little bit less of the modern traditional look, I would say take a look at Parks of Aledo because you get a lot more flair, I feel like, here, and at a really good price point. So Job Homes. So Job is great. They've got a whole backstory, and I would say go check out our Parks of Aledo video on this one because they are, I love their little history here. It's basically a husband and wife builder group that broke off from a larger name builder. The guy had like 20 years of experience building houses before he finally started his own house or his own construction company. And he hires his wife as the interior designer. And I think they do a phenomenal job together. They're still making a name for themselves. I believe this is the first community they've been in where they actually had a model home. But they've got a lot of premium features that they put in standard with all of their houses, and I think that's the big draw with them. So you're still getting things like the archways in your walkways, a nice high baseboards, 8-foot doors. That's a premium front door right there with all that glass. You're also getting paneling on your island. I guarantee all of this stuff is standard. They throw way too many options as standard with their houses. It's honestly crazy. I don't know how these guys make money. But it's all very good quality as well. So yeah, nice modern finish outs in their bathrooms as well. Standing tubs, nice high windows. Yeah, it's great. I love their houses. And the other one I really want to show you guys, I wonder if they got a Hark home. That'd be cool. Oh, here we go. Bet. Sorry, I use some weird vernacular sometimes, but Hark. Now, these guys on the outside, their stuff doesn't really stand out. They play it very safe and tame with their exteriors, but they put a lot of smart things in their house. I don't know what this one's going to be like, so I'm kind of going into this blind. But yeah, so you get like these built-ins and decorative fireplaces, and all of this is for under $700,000. Nice high baseboards, picture frame windows, so they don't have like the dividers and stuff in the middle of them. It kind of breaks up the lighting, whereas this does not. You got a little built-in nook. I assume that's for your refrigerator here. Kitchen off to the side, so it's like semi-open concept here with the sideways kitchen. Nice. I think is that monogram? I'm not actually sure what that is. It might just be KitchenAid, but I do really like the hardware that they got put in here. All looks great. Very light color scheme as well. Again, the paneling on the side of your island there. Backsplash, it looks like they just took a big piece of granite and put it across the back of it. But these are really indicative of this neighborhood as well. So it is slightly cheaper than the Walsh area. You're probably looking at maybe $100,000 to $200,000 cheaper depending on the builder you buy with and the type of house that you buy, which is why I say this is more your entry-level family houses. But you can still get really good quality stuff. So maybe you just want to get more bang for your buck. You're not too worried about the amenities and all the other stuff, and you want to be closer to the high school. This is a phenomenal place to start looking. And we have walkthrough tours of all of these different builders. If you want to see all the ins and outs, all the cool little things they do with their houses, go check that out. But for now, I want to take a look at our other price point here, because down in this area, this technically isn't Aledo. This is Whitestone Heights. So this is right about where Aledo ends. There's some of these over here in the Bella Flora, Bella Crossing, and Woodland Meadows area. This is actually Woodland Meadows. Let's take a look at this one because This one is under $1 million. These are where it starts to be sky's the limit. If you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, you go somewhere here. You get huge houses on huge lots, and these people do all sorts of crazy things. You should check out and see some of the crazy backyard ideas people do whenever they've got an acre of space to put whatever they want on. And you can see it as soon as we walk in. This is an unfurnished house, and you can already feel it. They've got crown molding and trim around the doorways, high-end front door, really tall baseboards, archways in the ceiling, custom cut glass, built-ins left and right in your office space, decorative tray ceilings, some sort of like textured tile on your fireplace, sliding glass doors. The photographer probably could have done a better job, but you got double islands here, stainless, all that. So really, like, I like showing these off because they're pretty, but this is where you go whenever you want big swaths of land and expansive houses. I think this one's actually a pre-owned. That's a pretty good price for what you're getting. Honestly, I would never have expected to see a house like that for under $1 million in this area. But you're going to see a lot more of that over here. You can see there's going to be fewer listings because as you go up in price point, the market does get smaller. But there are some smaller neighborhoods that are kind of dotted about here, especially on Kelly Ranch. So Kelly Ranch is great because this is a gated community that they're building here. This is Brightland. They're a production builder. They make a decent house. But they're probably going to be the lower end as far as pricing goes in Kelly Ranch. The biggest draw with this neighborhood is that it's actually adjacent to a golf course club or golf club that is being designed and built by Tiger Woods. Him, along with a couple other big name people, are developing the Kelly Ranch Golf Club or whatever it's called. I'm not a golfer. I apologize. I'm probably butchering all this information. But basically, he's getting involved in this. I think it's Blue Jack National or something. And it's all going to be right here on the edge of this community. Now, you saw this one. There's some $600,000 ones, but these are going to be going up in price really quickly because you've got big names in here like Sandlin. You've got Pivot. You've got Rock Crest, I believe their name is. I only saw one of their houses, but my God, it was beautiful. We've got videos on all that as well. So if you want to take a tour of some of these with us, go check that out. But this is going to be a little gated community. It's not going to have a ton of amenities as far as the HOA goes, but the big draw is if you're a golf nut, this is the place you want to be. And this is only phase one. They're actually opening up a second phase that's going to be called, I believe, Rio Vista, which is going to have, that one's going to be the one where all the amenities are actually located. It's just right across the street from Bear Creek here in this area. And that's going to be like, they're going to have a pool, a clubhouse, and all these other things, but they're still going to have access to that golf area. Let's actually see. I don't know if I go here, I don't know if we'll actually be able to see the, what's it called? The golf course just yet. See, there's Pivot, their little moniker. But yeah, all this over here. So you can see all this land that they're tearing up. That's all going to be developed for a golf course right outside these people's backyard. And it's going to be big with the name. I mean, obviously Tiger Woods, that's like Kobe Bryant inventing like a basketball club or something like that. It's insane. Like if somebody that high profile is getting involved in this, you know it's going to be good. So a lot of draw to that area, and right now prices are reasonable, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're projecting this to be like $1 million and up per lot type of neighborhood. So don't know how long it's going to stay reasonable. But yeah, there's a lot of big money development going in this area. And I mean, that's the long and short of it. If you're looking at the newer homes, like I said, there's a lot of pre-existing homes, things dating back to like probably as far back as like the 1920s that you could probably still get into here in Aledo. But I just know a lot of people like looking at the new stuff. So if you're interested in pre-existing homes, maybe you just like the older architecture, maybe you're looking to save a little bit of money, maybe you're just looking to pick up a project, go ahead, reach out to us because we can help you guys with all of that as well. But yeah, that's Aledo in a nutshell. Honestly, the rabbit hole goes a lot deeper. I just kind of rambled here for some of this stuff, but it's not even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the culture, the history, and most importantly, the people of Aledo as a whole. If that's something that you really want to dig into, I would love to talk to you guys about it. Like, you saw me just flap my jaws for however long I've been up here, and I barely even scratched the surface. So if you need to give me an excuse to talk a little bit more about Aledo, go ahead, give us a call. I would love to introduce you guys, because I really do think it is an untapped hidden gem in the DFW area. Maybe Aledo isn't your cup of tea after hearing all that. That's okay. Like I said, I'm more of an inner city person myself. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more your speed, go check out one of our other videos. We've actually got playlists based on lifestyle. So if you can figure out what type of person you are and where you want, we can help you figure out where you want to be from there. Go pull one of those videos up and get your research started there. Otherwise, if you're looking to buy or sell, remember to keep calm and call Tom.